it's like a metal basket that you move around in supermarket to put stuff in. So what do you call that? Trolley. So like similar to British accent, like British English.
Yeah.
So in British English, they also call it like a trolley. So, but here in America, sorry, people call it cart. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So how about slippers? What do you call it? Sandals.
Okay, that's the interesting word. The thong. They call it thong.
Thong.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Thong.
You know thong.
Yeah. It's like the thong. Yeah.
It's like a very sexual version of a panty, if you know what I mean. You can check that on Google. Thongs. All right. So do you still remember your homework? And now it's your time to perform your speech. Chi, you go first. I want you to tell me 5 stories. Oh, do you think it would be enough? Okay, Chi, you go first. You're gonna tell me the first story. No, Chi, you're gonna tell me the first story, and then you go for the second. Here you go. Let's get started.
Okay, the first story is about like a family who living next to the psychiatric institutions.
Yes.
Which is the place for all the people who have like the mental illness, and of course they get used to it. But one day there was a crusader came to rumored about his like about his health. He well, they thought that because he have a like his
Do you curious about the end of the story? Do you curious about the end of the story? Quite good. See exactly what I mean. Is that exactly what I mean? Is that exactly what I mean? Curious about what we are doing. So just want to let you know.
Out of proportion. So as a result, if you're the last person who listens to the story, I don't feel like the level of authenticity would be that high. Do you think so? Yeah, true that. So, okay, and how about Nan? Please tell me the second story.
The second story?
Yeah.
So let me have a look. Okay, so the second story is about a little, so that story is from okay, so what's the name of the YouTuber girl? Okay, she has a friend named Lauren. Lauren used to live in a haunted house. When Lawrence was 4 years old. When Lawrence was 4 years old,
Yeah.
she and her parents was moving in that house. Let me have a look at it. On the Kenwood Plains Street, and because at that time, they would at that time they knew her parents.
Yes.
At that time, her parents were desperate about choosing finding help. They just bought a plot of land to build a house, but they needed to wait for a little bit until the house is completed with some construction and stuff. So they just decided to buy like a jeep house to stay temporarily, and they didn't even when the realtor showed them the contract, because they was really desperate about finding help, so they just say yes, even they just said yes without looking at the entire house. And then when they moved in, there was a lot of odd things happen, including the house kept turning on after being turned off, and their parents and Lauren's parents would claim her for playing with the switches, but that's not true, because with her height, she can't reach to the switches. That's gonna be too high for her.
Yes.
And in the nighttime, they heard a lot of weird sounds from the basement, like muffled sound from the basement. And her dad comforted everyone by saying, "Oh, maybe that is sound from the old pipes, But then until one stage, he decided to investigate the basement, and they found out something very terrible. That was a unique electric chair, and they realized that room was treated as a torture room back in 1800s, and there was a lot of people who were killed in that room. Doesn't that? Yeah. And after they found out that, that's when a lot of odd things kept happening. There was the time that Lauren sat next to her mom, and there was a phone call. Her mom told her husband that please keep an eye on Lauren. But then when she just went back to the house for 1 second, she heard the bell flash. Lauren jumped into the swimming pool, but just in the very short amount of time, Lauren was in this side of the pool. But then when her mom said that, she was thinking in the other side, and that was unbelievable, because she couldn't swallow that far in the really short amount of time. So and then her dad had a cut in the palm, but unhealable, can't heal. And then her mom got choking a lot, even though when she's not eating, and she wasn't eating at all. And they decided to sell the house and move to the hotel, just rent a place in a hotel until their new house finished. And then they learned that the old owner had a lot of the same things happening to them as well. That was the story of Lauren's haunted house that I remember of her.
Oh my God! Supposing if I were them, I would have moved to another place, right? In the first place, when I start experiencing supernatural activities, like paranormal activities, things like that, because it's scary as F. Can you imagine it? Staying there? Hell no. And I somehow managed to stay there for a very long time, you guys. And I heard there's a play here in Vietnam as well. There's an area. One of my students told me that area is considered as sacred and solemn. So, but that area is full of demonic forces, negative energy, as well as like unexplained incidents. But the condition doesn't allow them to sort of move to a different place, so they have to settle in the place, and they don't want to move anywhere because like their ancestors just literally give them like houses and assets and cars and stuff, and they don't want to move to different places. They inherited those kind of assets and properties from their ancestors, and as descendants they just want to stay in a place to guard those properties. They don't want to move to a different place. But I mean, like, if I were them, I would definitely move to a different place, since the first day I experienced paranormal activities. And some people take paranormal activities for granted in there. They get used to the situation. They acclimatize their fear to some sort of social complexity and incidents that they experienced. Let me tell you, I'm curious about. So, Chi, next story.
Yes, okay. The next story is about a story of Lauria. In 1882, there was a doctor who called Luisa, and his wife is considered as one of the most beautiful women in that area.
Mm-hmm.
After a period of time, they started to think like maybe there was some ugly things behind that beautiful outlook. And of course, the doctors and his wife is like one of the most the rich family in that area, and they often celebrate all the anniversaries and cook all the fancy parties and food as much as possible. And but like questions have been raised about like, do any of these workers look familiar to the neighbor?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and one day there was the neighbor of those couple saw that the madam chasing a little girl with a whip, and where there was like no way to go, that girl decided to jump up from like a very high stair, like high cliff. And one day, when there was like a slave of like a cook of her house, she decided to suicide by herself. Like, she didn't want to be killed by that madam, and so she decided to burn that little room, and so on the whole house of the doctors. All the doctors' house started to be burned. And when they like came in the house, and they figure out there was like a room used to tutor all the slaves there. And like there was a lot of audience there. Like there was a scope which was sealed his mouth, and it was filled with the animal feces in her.
So disgusting. I mean,
there was a lot of like scary scene in that room, or like there was a corpse with all the organs in the abdomen outside, so on, and
they kind of tie the intestines around her waist as like a corset. Oh my god, that was so disgusting. Like it literally gave me a great sense of nausea though when I watched that scene. And there was a scene like where there was like this guy having a hole drilled in his head, and then there was like a stick inserted supposedly to stir his brain, and I was like, what? Oh my god.
And they found out a lot of skeleton in the in the backyard of the house.
Hey, Chi, you are a doctor. I got a question for you. I'm curious.
Yes.
How does it feel like having your brain stirred?
I'm not sure. I have never experienced that.
But like you can use medical theories to explain this.
I think it depends on the part that they like touch on your brain.
Okay, so if you got like a hole drill right here, and then they're gonna use like a stick to like stir your brain, like how would you feel? Can you use like medical theories to explain this, to give us some,
Yeah, of course. If you've got a drill right here, and then if they touch like a part of your brain which decided the feeling of your body. So right after that, you may lose all the feeling of your body, and you can't feel anything.
Oh.
Yeah, or sometimes like it can touch some other part of your brain, so you can lose your memories, lose your feeling, lose your vision, or you have some. There can be like a lot of problems.
Is there any certain tinge of pain? Like you would feel like a certain tinge of pain, and then everything just got shut down.
Yeah, it may happen.
Oh right. Okay, not as painful as I thought, right? I thought like you're gonna feel like no, the feeling of drilling. Oh no, not gonna talk about this anymore.
Yes, of course, it's painful like before the drill like touch your brain, the feeling of it.
Of course, you're gonna feel painful, but like I was like, oh my god! The moment I saw the scene, I immediately thought about the feeling the guy must have felt when I did that to him. Terrifying. Alright, keep going, G. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Sometimes at school I have to do like a lot of experiments. And I have to like open the brain of an animal and like cut off the brain to see what happens with human if we cut off like a part of your brain. So the stories continue with after that they found out a lot of skeleton in the backyard of the doctor's house, and they even found a skeleton of a child who considered as a little girl that the neighbors saw.
Oh right, I see. Yeah. Okay. And like in reality, because of their cruel treatment to those like some almost inhumane cruel treatment to those victims, actually slaves, the government decided to impound, like all of those slaves were impounded from the women. I couldn't remember her name. What is her name, guys? Yeah, they sort of like sniffed out, like the police sort of sniffed out her mistreatment to those victims and slaves, but they ignored it because she literally bought them back for pleasure, like for torturing and pleasure. Like she gave the police a lot of bribery, like a great amount of bribery, in order to get those slaves back and torture them and get pleasure out of them. So disgusting as hell. Yes, next story, then please. It's your turn.
I'm sorry to say I've just been preparing the first three stories really carefully, but I haven't really gone through the last two ones. Can I please do one of the first three ones? Sorry.
Okay, it's perfectly okay. The next time you can.
I haven't been able to do the fourth and the fifth one.
It's perfectly okay. The next time, or you can make videos and send me. I can check it out later. Yes. Gee.
Yes, sorry about that. I'll send you the number 4 and the 5th later on.
Sure.
Tomorrow. Okay.
Yes, it's perfectly okay. Okay, G, please tell me the last two stories.
Me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. The next story is about the story in Paris, and they always call that Paris is the city of light, but actually there was some story that in there when the light turned off. And there was the friend of the YouTuber who was called Leia, and Leia has Leia's grandfather lived in France, and once they have a chance to come to Paris to visit his grandfather, her
Yes.
grandfather, and he lived in a antique antique house with 3 bedrooms, and Leia and her mom stayed together in one bedroom, and her her brother and his girlfriend, his partner, sleep in the other room. And one day when she was sleeping, and she heard that her mom is crying while she was asleep, and she tried to wake her mom up. And the next day, when she was asleep, she felt like she woke up, but she cannot move any part of her body. She can just see everything around, but she can't move, or she can't scream. And so her brother's girlfriend have the same experience. When she sleeping and woke up, and she saw a blonde girl staring at her. And in the next day, all of them see there was a picture on the wall about the blonde girl, and they asked her grandfather about that girl, and his grandfather said that was the girl who used to live in that house, but she passed away, and the bedroom that they are staying in was her room. And they decided to not tell her grandfather about the experience that they got, because they doesn't want to
Scare him.
Give him
the
because
chill. Yes.
he
want to give him the chill.
lived alone in that city. And the next time when they came back to that house, they decided to face that spirit, and they said that we really want to come here, but we will never come back here if you still trying to scare us.
Definitely.
Yeah, and all the experience fade away, and they don't have any scary moments there, and they think that spirit is a good one.
Oh, this one is not as scary, but the last one is.
Yeah, the last one is about a story about a girl. Sorry that I forgot her name.
Wait. I think you should. Okay, so you should keep your partner in suspense here. I think in the next class we should tell this story, because I feel like we should save this story for
the last story is
to watch, because she told us she hasn't watched it. So I mean, I got pretty shocked finishing the story. I mean, I think you should watch. It gives you a chill.
Yeah.
The last story is a
The
scary.
last for the best.
Exactly. All right, guys. So let's practice writing. So writing test you got a question. People are using a lot of online language translation apps. Do the benefits of this outweigh the disadvantages? I want you guys to discuss this first, and then we can start writing later. But do you still remember the structure of your writing?
Yeah.
Writing test 2. For the introduction, you may write 3 sentences. Alright, the first sentence is for introducing, in this day and age, we are living in the world where technology or the emergence of the widespread use of technology reigns supreme, things like that, blah blah blah. You got an introduction. Alright? And then for the next sentence, what are you gonna write? You're gonna paraphrase the question in your own words. Of course, you have to use your own words and express the same idea. And then for the third sentence, what are you gonna do? State your opinion. Do you agree or disagree? But this question is about advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so you're gonna tell your opinion. Do you think the advantages are gonna outweigh, or advantages outweigh disadvantages, or vice versa. You have to state your opinion. You cannot say, oh, I'm in the middle, or oh, I'm not sure, or okay, you know, the advantages and disadvantages are kind of equally beneficial. No, or equally. I mean, like the number of advantages and disadvantages is kind of equal. No, you cannot say that. You cannot say like you stay in the middle or things like that. You have to clearly clarify your opinion for this part. You see what I mean? Yes. And then move on to the second paragraph. I'm gonna send you the structure later, and don't worry. I'm definitely gonna send you the structure so you can stick to.
Because just like the last time I've been doing all my structure like 3 years ago, and yeah, I got what you mean, but I'm just not too sure about that.
Alright, I'm gonna share with you structure later. Don't worry. So I'm gonna provide you guys with some phrases here. The first expression we have here, okay. The first expression we have here is web-based language translation application. Okay, web-based, what does that mean? Web-based language translation application. Now, web-based here basically means that you're gonna use some website to do translation. You see what I mean? Web-based language translation applications. And then you can say people from vastly different geographical zones or educational backgrounds and cultural beliefs. Instead of saying people coming from all walks of life, you can say this, I think. This would elongate your sentence and provide more information. Okay, so if you are more inclined to verb, you have a tendency to do something. I think you guys know this expression, right? You guys know this expression, right?
Yeah.
Any other question for me? So there is ample evidence that, ample evidence means clear evidence that, immeasurably beneficial, immeasurably, this is interesting, especially this adverb, immeasurably means that you can't measure it. So if something is immeasurably beneficial, it is extremely beneficial to the point that you can't measure it. You see what I mean? And then providing a handy solution to their language barriers. Yeah, language barriers. I'm pretty sure you guys know this expression. Difficulties when it comes to languages, and handy solution means good solution. Seamlessly. Okay, seamlessly means without any difficulty. Easily, seamlessly. Effortlessly, seamlessly. You can speak English seamlessly. Alright? Language conversion apps. Now, language conversion apps, what does it mean? It means the app that contains a lot of different languages, and it's gonna help one language to be translated into another. So language conversion apps. Cause potential losses to a key section of education establishment. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with the expression potential losses to a key section of education establishment. What the heck is that? Establishment here means like a foundation. So it's gonna, do a lot of harm to the major part of educational background or foundation. Specialist tuition. Now, a lot of people nowadays are not willing to pay for specialist tuition, but they want to, download some applications, some translation applications in order to translate quickly on the internet. But I don't think it would do wonders for their language development. All right. The next expression we have here is learn a new tongue. Learn a new tongue is the equivalent of learn a new language or pick up a new language. It doesn't have anything to do with your tongue here. Basic registration details and email verification. Yeah, so with some basic registration details and email verification, you can have free access to those web-based language translation applications. accessible, right? And proficient level fluency means it's very hard to acquire the proficient level fluency if you don't practice on a daily basis, something like that. Indisputable. If something is indisputable, you can't argue anything about this. Like, this is so clear, it's so obvious that you can't argue. You see what I mean? If something is so clear, so obvious that you can't argue about that, then it is indisputable. Indisputable fact, for example. And now you see a lot of translators like me, interpreters, are trying to fight to justify their relevance, justify their value in the job market, because since the emergence of artificial intelligence, sooner or later they are gonna interweave đan bện vào. They're gonna interweave and integrate the sort of like a product of artificial intelligence into the translation field, and as a result, you gotta work even harder. You gotta give it your best shot and work even harder. You have to try to solve some problems related to semantic ambiguity and things like that. Things that machines can't handle in order to cement your position in the job market. And last but not least, the situation favors something. If a situation favors something, basically, it gives something a lot of benefit. And last but not least, you have like be hugely beneficial for something. So for example, I can say definitely some web-based language translation applications are hugely beneficial for the world at large. For the whole world at large when it comes to educational development. However, if you want to be competitive and stand out among others, you definitely have to work on your own language. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Oh wait. Okay, perfect. Now guys, it's your turn. It's your turn to argue.
Yeah, football might be breaking out, and that might be a good trade, but we're not going to alert it. It's just not enough volume. We're looking at things that are insanely popular on the day, experiencing once-in-a-lifetime days. No tea in Vutsi. Pizza. Vuji. Yeah, let me take a look at the coin formation. Let's see. Yeah, coin looks great. Coming up and around the bowl. Probably going to see some kind of a cup and handle form eventually. I'm still seeing increased volume, cell volume. So, although it's ripening, it could be today, tomorrow, sometime this week, coin. Keep reminding me about it. There might be a good swing entry on coin. MCMJ about to break all-time high. Let's see. Phew. Yeah, that one's going crazy. MCMJ. Let's take a look at it. Lucid's crapping out. I mean, that little pop, whatever Lucid was doing for a day or two, that's over for now. We'll come back to it in a month or two when it's starting to creep up again. All right, MCMJ trading 500,000 shares and moving up. Well, if you want a piece of MCMJ, be like 30 cents for that entry. And ENPH is continuing. Matterport doing its thing, and that's fine. Matter's not a day trade, it's a swing trade. C pop has halted. Has it? Okay.
Bền vững. Thế là khi